All right, what is it that you do when you've accomplished everything in life and there's nothing left that excites you? What you do is you get out in 35-degree heat and you make YouTube videos for all the great followers. And today I want to talk about entering financial markets that are deeply regulated. That is the reason I'm out here in Abu Dhabi, specifically Abu Dhabi global markets. So to give a bit of perspective on this topic, let me share this. So UAE, the United Arab Emirates, heavily regulated, competitive, rich, saturated market that has attracted a lot of money. Over 300,000 Russian citizens have fled after the Ukraine war over to the Emirates. And those are not the poorest Russians, those are mostly rich Russians. They bring fuckloads of cash with them. And also during COVID, UAE has been performing very well. They have kept all the economy open, hotels, clubs, businesses, and so on and so forth. And all of that has made UAE a big winner. Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and others, a big winner all throughout these couple of last years. But that also means that there's a lot of people coming in. There's a lot of people that are short-term, charlatans, con artists that are just trying to scam other people. And there are a few businesses, few people that want to come here and establish operations and be here for the long term. And so when it comes to the financial markets, that is a whole different story, because financial markets are normally, not always, but oftentimes regulated, because when you're touching people's money, then the government wants to mostly know about it and wants to control it in one way or another. And that is my core business: consumer loans, lending, crowdfunding platforms, and so on. And in many places, such as the UAE, it's a regulated market. And so why it's interesting, why am I talking about this? And why am I here in Abu Dhabi Global Markets? First of all, Abu Dhabi Global Markets, it is an economic free zone that the Emirates government has set up together with other 45 free zones, economic free zones. So altogether there are 46 economic free zones in the Emirates dedicated to different types of businesses, different types of activities scattered all across Emirates. Big free zones like Rakez, Abu Dhabi Global Markets, Dubai International Financial Center, Dubai Media City, and a bunch of others. And the idea is very simple. It's the same idea that normally applies to economic free zones, is that the government wants to incentivize businesses to come set up shop in their countries, make it easier from a regulation standpoint, make it easier from red tape, bureaucracy, and also tax perspective. And so businesses come set up in these lighter regimes, these economic free zones, and then they do business in that specific country. And so that's the reason I'm here. Together with my business partner, we have set up a company in ADGM that is our foothold into having an operation here in the UAE. And what's interesting specifically about UAE is, like I said, most countries are heavily financially regulated, some countries are not. And in this specific case, there are, unlike many other countries where there's one financial regulator, maybe there could be some free zones, but really there's one financial regulator. Either it's the central bank or it's the financial markets regulator, or the two of them. In most countries it's fairly straightforward. Here you have 46 free zones. Each of those free zones have, to some extent, some regulators, some governing bodies that are overseeing that specific free zone. And so there are certain things you can do in one free zone that you cannot do in another one. Each of these free zones you can think of effectively as companies, right? Their target is not to make a profit, but their target is to attract business. And so therefore, especially in advanced countries like the UAE, people that govern and on a daily basis manage and run these free zones, they are professionals, they are business minded, they want companies to come to those locations and set up businesses. So that's a very different conversation to, let's say, when you go and speak to regulators in most places in Europe, right? That are bureaucratic, they're not well paid, they're not very competitive and smart, and they have fairly little incentive, with exceptions, fairly little incentive to just accommodate more businesses, especially that are innovative and different from traditional business models. And so free zones here in the Emirates are very much the opposite. They're welcoming, open, and that's why it's interesting to do business here. Each of them, to some extent, compete with each other, and that leaves, if you call them gray zones or gaps, in terms of if your business model can run and operate smoothly based out of one economic free zone. Maybe in some other economic free zone it's not that simple. And then on top of that complexity, there's a layer which is the mainland regulation. So the mainland, the main Emirati regulatory framework, is in terms of the financial sector is the central bank, right? So there are businesses that cannot be managed out of an economic free zone, that can only be managed through the mainland and approved by the central bank. That's another level of complexity in all of this mix, that if you want to get into a country like this, you want to do financial services in a place like this, that's what you have to deal with. And it takes the right lawyers, it takes the right advisors, it takes the right partners, which is another important piece. In a place like, especially in the Middle East, almost in most countries, especially the rich Middle East countries that have plenty of money, they have a ton of people wanting to be here, wanting to do business here. The regulators have busy hands. There's tons of companies that apply for different types of licenses. You have to wait. Oftentimes it's not clear cut in terms of how to get approvals for your business operation. And so what's very important is local partners. I have done other videos where I've spoken about this. If you want to do business in the Middle East, you got to have local partners to cut through the complexity, to understand how to do actually business here, and to avoid scammers, con artists that are here for the short term. They take advantage of businesses and people that don't really know much about the local market, and they give you advisory, and you pay them 10K, 20K, 50K, whatever, and they give you some bullshit advice that's not relevant, and you just you throw away money. So it takes good local partners, advisors, to really understand the complexity of a place like the UAE, and that gives you a better chance of doing business here. And also another thing, because especially the UAE, it's a monarchy, right? So most, if not all, but I would say most business areas are, to one extent or another, controlled by the local Emirati families, and they are doing a very good job, obviously, at developing the country and running the economy. But that means that there are certain areas, certain industries, where if you want to come as an outsider and do business in those industries, either you have to partner with those families or you really cannot compete with them. And so this is another layer of complexity that you have to take into account. And so once you put in these different regulatory regimes, free zones, mainland, the fact that many industries and many business areas are controlled effectively by the local families because they own the country, and second, because it's such an exploding economy with so many people coming in here with a lot of money. There are also all of these ill-minded people, scammers, that are just out there to get your money. So all of these things make it fairly complicated to get into a regulated financial market like the UAE, and that is a bit unique and a bit different from many other places that I do business, especially in Europe, where it is more conservative, probably more straightforward. There's one regulator. If you know your business area, your business model, then it's fairly easy to figure out, okay, do you need a license? Do you need regulatory approval or not? And if you do, it's fairly straightforward in terms of how you get there, but not in this country. So anyway, and a point about economic free zones. So what it means, an economic free zone is effectively an arrangement provided by a government of a specific country, which says, okay, if you register your company in this free zone, which is it can be just a building, it's not really anything other than a conceptual arrangement, a legal arrangement, then you will have tax breaks or reduced tax regime. It will be easier for you to set up shop and some other benefits. That's all that really an economic free zone means. Okay, I think that's it for today. See you soon. See you soon, my friends.